And now back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Welcome back to Hack City. Joe DeLeone and Sean Anderson here to react to the first round of the FCS football playoffs. Apparently, the CAA, it sucks, according to anyone you talk to and everyone who felt the need to bring it up to me in DMs and comments, blah, 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 blah. We're going to get to that. Before we do, though, Sean, can you share with our listeners a quick word from BetOnline?
Yeah, I'd love to. Big.
Are you cold? You look a little cold.
It is freezing in this apartment. It is.
You can turn the heat on.
Absolutely. I will not turn the heat on.
Okay.
I'm not going to be the first one to press that switch.
All right, well, we're going to go
I'll die before I turn this heat on. But yes, we're going to be seeing a bundled up Sean Anderson tell you about BetOnline for the next couple months. If you're doing some nice FCS football playoff betting, if you're doing some general football betting like I enjoyed today, head to BetOnline. They have the largest selection of odds and sports from everything football, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC, boxing. They got it all. Head to the website today to see why BetOnline is America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.
All right, Sean, thank you. Maybe if one of us hits our bets this coming week, we can afford to pay our heating bill and we won't freeze anymore. In all seriousness, though, first round of the playoffs, it was exciting. We had typical shenaniganery that was happening. I don't know if that's a word. I just made it up. I think that works.
I'll roll with it. Hack City, a podcast based on shenaniganery.
Well, what would the other version? What would the correct version of it be? Shenaniganery or I don't want to
shenanigans filled
playoff. No. Too simple. I don't want to go just shenanigan filled.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Shenanigan. No, I think the way that I said it's the right way.
It's maybe it's the most right way for being the wrong way.
It's a part of the Hack City dictionary. Can't tell. It's been a long 2 days, long weekend. The CAA played poorly, and again, everybody and their mother had to remind us. I was commenting about other football games and the fights that were happening for rivalry weekend. And of course, I get Chad and Brendan, come rolling on in to let me know that the CAA played poorly. We got to start by talking about Rhode Island's close win against Central Connecticut State. One of the few CAA victories, 21-17. Malik Grant rushes for 225. Wesley Neal, and I'm glad I didn't miss this and I wasn't distracted by something, had one of the best big man interceptions I've seen, where ball goes looping up into the air and he just tracks that thing like a big old outfielder and catches that ball, comes down with it, game-sealing interception. URI defense played great. I would like to remind everyone, again, that was in my mentions saying, whoop, URI sucks. URI's defense this year has been phenomenal. The way that they played in this game was another example of that. But a lot of people don't know this, apparently. Rhode Island is down to their backup quarterback. Hunter Helms has had to step in. He has been turnover prone. He played one of his cleaner games, but still had an interception in this one. We have seen that there is a difference between him and Farrell. Farrell was great for them. They were starting to hit their stride, and it does not seem like that they're going to be getting him back. So for all the people that want to jump on us for Rhode Island's performance and saying that they're unjust for where they are, maybe this is a Florida State situation. Maybe Rhode Island is the Florida State of the 2024 FCS playoffs. But it feels like there's a lot of goalposts moving for people who didn't know that context.
We also didn't say any CAA team should have had a 1-8 seed. So that should be an indicator of we didn't have crazy world beater faith in any of the teams. And I know that some of the other programs dropped this weekend from the CAA, but I'm personally happy to see URI move on. I like seeing Mike Fried Trout seal down the final interception. A little big outfielder joke there for you. How about that? Yeah, but
over my head.
But it is solid. I don't know if when I finished playing at Rhode Island or you did, when we would have projected URI to get their first playoff victory since the 1980s. I don't think it would have been within 4 years of graduation. I thought it was going to be way down the line. I didn't see it possible. And they kept on chopping wood and got by Central Connecticut State. An easy draw. I will let it be known Central Connecticut State one of the easier draws. But it's a big win. It's a good win for the program. I know they're going to have to go to a gauntlet next week, but I'm not putting the CAA plays like ass banner under Rhode Island. A win is a win in the playoffs. If we want to talk about CAA teams playing like ass, let's talk about the ones that lost.
Yeah, I think that the performance for Rhode Island was stellar. I think that their defense is good enough going up against this Mercer team, which has had their own woes. Like we saw the meltdown that they had against Samford. Most of outside of like the top 4, there's a lot of flawed teams. So I'm not putting Rhode Island being able to compete against Mercer this upcoming week. I'm not putting it past them. I also wouldn't be shocked if Rhode Island doesn't score any touchdowns because we know that Mercer defense has been unbelievably good. One of the teams that I thought shouldn't have got into the playoff field played exactly like it. UT Martin bodied UNH 41-10, completely smoked them. UT Martin rushes for 236 on 52 carries. UNH only mustered 124 total yards. We knew that UT Martin was one of the more underrated teams in the playoff field. We knew that UNH was probably one of the more overrated and was one of those last teams that snuck in and was riding off of conference value, name brand value. I can't sit here and defend them. That's a bad performance, and they did not look like a competent team. UT Martin should be, and I think we didn't talk about them a ton in our overall bracket preview, but they're one of those sneaky teams just to pay attention to.
Yeah, we said when we initially did our bracket reaction, the top 24, the first thing I think both you and I mentioned was UNH being actually getting a number next to their name this year was crazy. I didn't have them ranked in my top 25s all season. You could go through and check them. I tweet them out every week. I was not high on this UNH team. They have a couple really good pieces on defense, but their offensive line has been bad this year. The quarterback play has been inconsistent. UT Martin had 4 sacks against them, and UNH couldn't move the ball at all in this one. A legitimate playoff team in UT Martin versus UNH had enough of, I guess, a resume to get into the playoffs, so that's why they're there. Type matchup, and UT Martin, legit playoff team, did what they were supposed to do and beat them. I have no love lost for this UNH team. Was not standing by them when the playoffs started or most of the year. It is what it is. If you want to, go into the mentions about that, fine. I'm not going to challenge you.
Yeah, again, UT Martin, strong performance. They take on Montana State next, which is going to be very brutal, tough matchup. It kind of almost didn't even matter who won this game because
It's a nice win.
Yeah.
A nice win.
Yeah, a nice pat on the back, and you get to square off with, oh, cool, Montana State, the juggernaut. But you win a nice little battle. Oh, there's Thanos waiting for you at the door.
Hey, are we going to get his nice sweatsuit and a backpack for flying out here to Bozeman to freaking break our
dinner
necks? Yeah.
God, I feel bad. Lehigh beat Richmond 20-16. This was an unexpected one. I think a lot of people assumed that Lehigh was going to get walked over because the Patriot League typically isn't very good. But no, they are a chaotic entity. Man, I can't speak today. They are a chaotic entity, especially after the energy they brought by carrying their goalposts as far as they did into the river. This was a very tight game throughout. Richmond could not finish most of their drives. They had to rely on a bunch of field goals, and a 56-yard touchdown from Jeffrey Jamel was what gave Lehigh the score that helped them win the game. Again, those inabilities to finish drives when they had opportunities to pull away, to finish things out, was what killed them.
Richmond had plenty of opportunities to pull away win this one. They had plenty of opportunities to get back. They weren't fighting against the clock that much when they were down in the fourth. They had plenty of time, and they did nothing. So congrats to Lehigh. Richmond was on fraud watch all year also. I had them on and off the bracket constantly because they would drop awful ones, win a couple against some Skells, get into the positive record side of things, and then keep on beating the Skells, lose another goofball one. And that's just how their season went. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that much faith in them. Lehigh didn't have much faith in them either, but they were sneaky optimistic, and they played better football. They just did in this game. So it was a good win by them. I'm not going to sit up here, and I don't believe my co-host will sit up here and say Lehigh is going to, you got to watch out, Idaho, because they're going to really pound the rock or they're going to air you out deep, but they're going to play a fine brand of football, which is good for the playoffs. A fine brand of football was enough to beat fraudulent Richmond.
And Lehigh is the type of team that it also was better than I think a lot of people realized. Their record was strong. They had a couple of scrappy good wins. They are the type of team that if you're getting all the way down the field and you're not capping those drives off with touchdowns, they play just good enough on defense and they run the clock well enough and control the time of possession enough on their drives that they're going to be able to win a close game. That's the last team that I would allow to hang around up until the fourth quarter. Also, we don't claim Richmond as a CAA team because I guess we're the CAA pod again for everybody who's tagging us and all that shit, but we don't claim Richmond because they're going to the Patriot League.
Well, Richmond also, we never played them in our 4 years, so that also is impactful. Also, I think Reddit FCS has put us down as national pod and CAA at times.
Why?
So I'd rather be listed as national moving forward to the scary fellas that run that account. Please, I'll use my manners.
This was the most barnyard game. Illinois State beats. They beat Paxton De Laurent. They didn't beat Southeastern Missouri. They beat Paxton De Laurent 35-27. We don't need to talk about this game. We just need to talk about the fact that this is the most absurd stat line. Talk about a fat stat in the wrong category. 48. Hold on. What do you think how many passing attempts he had, folks? Let's get. I'm going to give an A, B, and C option. Let's go with 55. Let's go with 65. Let's go with 70. What do we think? How many?
Well, I'd go based on his completion percentage so far this year. I'll go with option B, 65.
85 passing attempts, 557 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. What possesses a chaotic individual who's calling the plays to say, you know what? The last 60 passing attempts weren't enough. We're going to throw 5 more, and then we're going to keep throwing 5 more until we lose this game. If you have this many interceptions, why are you still throwing the football? Illinois State, though, played great defensively with the 5 picks and were able to maximize it off of it. It feels like this was just not avoidable, but one of those instances where you're like, come on, man, you didn't have to do all that.
I'd say if Paxton De Laurent threw the ball 70 times, SEMO could have won. But they went.
That's an absurd thing to say.
But they went so far into
that
the
is
extreme.
an absurd
Follow me here.
Say.
Follow me here. They went so far to that extreme where all Illinois State had to do was just play a normal game of football. You could have mistakes. You could punt. You could turn the ball over once or twice, and you would still you would still win because who the hell goes out and throws the ball 85 times? That's irresponsible. That is getting in your car after 20 Budweisers irresponsible if we're correlating that to offensive play calling. It's really unbelievable to say, hey, big man, I got you today. We're going to have the kid throw 85 times, and we're going to beat a hot Illinois State team. What?
I want to keep we're keeping the analysis here like very simple because a lot of times when you break down a game like this where there's unbalanced play calling, you kind of think to yourself, okay, there has to be an underlying issue. And there's been games at the FBS level this year I've broken down, like when Ole Miss lost to Kentucky, I broke down with Ryan like a lot of the things that didn't go right in that game and why Lane Kiffin was calling so many passing attempts. But when this is so cut and dry stupid, I have to just bring up total just box score, reading the box score. 6 rushing attempts for your lead running back. And you had 85. I need to know what
would make a man do that? What would make
there weren't even the scenarios? You weren't even like down big and you had to like climb out. What?
It's just defying the laws of football. That's what it is. We got this guy trying to create his own gravity drive, breaking the rules, going mock speeds that our fastest fighters can't catch. Buddy, you're at SEMO. I hate to break it to you. 85 pass attempts, you're not the next Mike Leach. All right? You just didn't. You can't do that. Have some balance. This is what the playoffs are. You need balance in the playoffs.
And like, I get that they went down, and this is like where, if I heard, I know we're really harping on this. If I heard 85 passing attempts, I would think, okay, said team had to have been down like 60 points.
Yeah.
And like every snap, throw the ball, throw the ball, throw the ball. Halftime, the score was 28-7. Not an insurmountable lead. We watched Georgia come back from a 17-point lead that they were down in halftime. That, to me, does not constitute having to throw the ball that much. Now, it did help them get into striking distance, but oh my God, I'm dumbfounded. This is the most ridiculous thing that I think I'm ever going to read.
I can't stop looking at the number. I just can't stop looking at it and just thinking about it. Because if you haven't done it, you sit through these film sessions on Sundays, right?
Right.
With the offensive line, it was always a little bit longer because there was 5 guys that you had to analyze. But you would range from like 60 to like high 70s amount of plays in a game. Sometimes you touch 80 if it ran long, high scoring, whatever it is. That's like a 2-hour, 3-hour film session. And you're just sitting there like, God, how are we only on play 35? 85 plays, all passing. We're not even looking at the defense here. Could you imagine watching through that film, how long it would take, how just crushed your soul would be thinking, I have 4 hours watching 85 pass attempts? Yeah. No. It is just a ridiculous amount of time to put in perspective if you're in that film room watching your big uglies up front, stepping back and their drops 85 times. Irresponsible.
All right, we got to move on to the next game. I'm just dumbfounded by that. Villanova, and speaking of dumbfounded, beats Eastern Kentucky 22-17, and this was all of the talk of FCS Twitter. Controversial fumble call, where it appeared Connor Watkins was coming forward with the football. It was ruled incomplete. There was a fumble recovery that would have given EKU the victory. Am I
You're on it.
I could have.
It would have gone EKU's way.
I feel like. Well, that's not what I was asking. I feel like I didn't do the description justice enough. A lot of people were pissed off about this. I don't disagree. Certainly was a handout play. I can get why Eastern Kentucky fans and their whole coaching staff was as disenfranchised as they were by the result. Overall, seemed like it was a pretty sloppy game from both sides, and whoever went on to win this game is probably going to get knocked out in the next round.
Yeah, it's and neither team played a very solid game. It wasn't, I'm not going to stand by Villanova moving forward. If you've been listening to this show all season, you know I have not been super high on Villanova as of late.
Yeah.
EKU, I thought, may have been built better as a playoff team because they were catching heat at the end of the season. But if we're going to grade a slop fest as a slop fest, I'm not going to sit here and say one play determined the whole game. There's plenty of opportunities to win it. I'm not thrilled about the fumble call. I want all calls to go as best as possible in this namesake of fairness. But
the name of Jesus Christ.
If we're watching a true sloppy game where neither team is doing anything exceptional, I'm not going to start beating my drum angrily on Twitter. Jamie Williams. That is not what I'm going to be doing. Sorry, Jamie. I know. I'm sure I'm going to get corrected on 1,000 things for that, but it is what it is. Villanova, I think, will probably get rolled next round. It's kind of
incarnate word is their matchup.
It's a little inconsequential. If EKU had won, I'd be more interested in the matchup, but I don't think Villanova has the firepower.
Tarleton storms back on Drake. Not really storming back, but it felt kind of cool for a quick second when I quote tweeted Sam Herder that he posted. Drake was up 14-3 on Tarleton State. I was like, oh, look at this. Look at Drake. Are they going to do it? No, they couldn't. 43-29 was the final score. Pioneer League. They just don't have it in them. Tarleton, though. Hey, man.
Look, Tarleton, if Victor Gabales plays like this, they can compete. They not saying they're going to win at all. But they could compete because they've got two very good running backs.
Winning a national title.
Yeah, that would be some good momentum for the league. If we could have the inaugural, hey, say, we got a ring on us. All right, so let's get this together. We'll get some more, pull it together. Yeah. But Kayvon Britton had a big day. Kyle Weber also had a big day. They both ran for 2 touchdowns. It just became a flexing show where Tarleton just had the bigger bodies. They had the better offense, the better defense. Good fight, Drake. Happy to see 29 points. That's not bad. I'll clap it. I'll give it a little light clap for Drake. I didn't think they would get into the 20s.
I would have guessed it would have been 43-0. I really thought that this was probably the second most surprising score outside of the Lehigh one.
Yeah.
That they mustered 29 points. Because I wouldn't really constitute this as closer than we thought.
I was going to go like 35-12, but Drake scored 2 touchdowns, had 2 PATs blocked. That's where I was going with it.
Other Grimace League inaugural member, Abilene Christian blanks NAU 24-0. So much for NAU and these mid-level Big Sky teams being so scary. 29 rushing yards for NAU. Pennington, long-lost cousin of Chad Pennington. Not a great day. But ACU, we know what they are. We know what they can be. 24 points is a layup for them. Easy night. They looked like they were cakewalking through this thing. And they move on to face North Dakota State, which will be a far tougher, more physical battle.
Looking to get some more eyes on the situation and open to be informed on it as well. But it's especially the Maverick McIver situation. Good for ACU that Carson Haggard stepped in and got the win without McIver being in the game. I know he was injured 2 weeks ago, but really, Haggard did his job. More game manager, did okay. But Sam Hicks, the running back for ACU, really carried the team. 22 carries, 171 yards, and 1 touchdown. I think, if this is the trend, will be the focal point of the offense, where we're going to have to see a much more balanced attack, more running from ACU compared to air it out McIver style if he's not back. But good sign. Backup quarterback comes in and gets a playoff win, and you can run the rock. That's 2 good little thumbs up stickers for ACU moving forward. That's not a sloppy win. 24 points is good. Good defensive showing. It's solid for them.
Nothing makes me want to ram my head full speed into a wall more than reading in an article undisclosed injury.
Yeah. It's just gutting.
Yeah. That's frustrating. Hopefully they can get him back, because a part of me wonders how much separation that game could have had if he was available for the entirety of it.
Yeah.
Montana, last game here, beats Tennessee State 41-27. Was a nice little nightcap at the end of the night after the absurdity of just general college football this weekend. We saw Montana do what we know that they can, which is have a very commanding rushing attack. We saw Eli Gilman do his thing. We saw Junior Bergen step up on special teams with 2 punt return touchdowns. I believe he's now the sole owner of the return touchdown record.
I believe I saw that as well, yes.
I thought what was really cool coming out of this game, though, we all kind of believed that Montana had just a little bit more physicality, and knowing the environment that they were hosting a night home playoff game against a team from Tennessee, that they were going to have an advantage. I thought this was really cool, though. Former elite NFL running back, college running back, Eddie George, who said, I played running back. I know a good one when I see one. I thought that was sick to see that. Him just throwing a lot of praise at these Montana players was really, really cool. And it's deserved, because Montana played a game that gives them momentum stepping into their next game.
It's nice to see Gilman get some praise. He's been just an absolute warrior for Montana. And then Junior Bergen also receiving praise from Eddie George.
Yep.
After the game, George reportedly said, can't wait to see you in the NFL. Well, if you're having 2 punt return touchdowns in the FCS playoffs, and every time you're in the playoffs, you're making the biggest plays of the game, lets me know that Bergen just has that gene in him to rise to the occasion. I mean, are you kidding me? When they need it, 2 touchdowns, that's the game. That is a tie game without his performance and his ability to crib 1 or 2. I mean, way to unlock the guy. Please pass it to him a little more. Fife didn't have a great day. Let's start distributing, fellas. I know it's a win, and you probably just want to run the rock a little more. But I see the bones. I see the skeleton. I see all the talent of this team, and they could be exciting in the playoffs. I hope they put it together. We can see the offense come together. We can see the defense come together, and they had a good game, 5 sacks, 8 TFLs. And then the special teams has come together. So if it all starts clicking, Montana, out of this first round group, I think might be the strongest.
I love the chaos of reading some of these recaps. This one, framed it as Montana benched Fife for Yacht and began running the ball again. So we're back to the chaos.
Yeah.
I am talking about ramming my head against the wall. I can't wait to see who they trot out there. But Bergen does tie the career record for punt return touchdowns. I appreciate how consistent Bergen has become this super clutch. Think about how unique this is to say. He is one of the most, actually, he's probably the most clutch kick returner in FCS history. I don't have enough context to think of another kick returner in FCS, and probably one of the most in Division I history. Because he did this last year in the playoffs. Yeah. His ability to turn simple returns into touchdowns in games where they need the energy. I can't think of anyone else who's been able to do that.
He is Mr. December, and that is the exact opposite of Kirk-sember, which is kicked off today, where we're seeing the worst.
Of course, you got to bring up the Falcons.
Well, I'm trying to get that started. I'm trying to get a buzz around Kirk-sember, but it's really impressive. And I mean, I know we had a really good return man at URI that when he touched the ball, we were always excited, Amir Dorsey, that he could take one back, and sometimes he did. And that was just a huge weight off the shoulders. And having someone like Bergen back there that can break a game open, so massive, especially when all these games are just going to get tighter and tighter.
At Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio, go give us a follow at Hack City Pod. Subscribe because we're going to be back with the preview of the next round. Things are just heating up. We got the warm-up games in, and now the real boys are going to be playing in this next round of the FCS playoffs. Don't miss out. We'll talk to you folks later.